as I was growing up, I knew this wonderful lady, and her name was Bernice. Now, she raised me and my sister part of the time just through babysitting. And I remember having the most fun at her house, and she would always make us mac and cheese, and she'd roll us on her exercise balls, and it was like the most fun you could have as a kid. And then I remember one day where she decided that she was going to go on a trip, and she was actually going to Mexico. And in the middle of that trip, my mom walks home with some news. And she says that Bernice, something tragic had happened. And she had died while she was in Mexico. And we knew that we'd never see her again. And I remember sitting on our bed with my sister and my mom, crying and praying as we were remembering the loved person that we had lost. Now, I think you can see this theme of appreciating love in this story, but I also see it in a song. I see it in the song of If Tomorrow Never Comes by Garth Brooks. And I want to talk to you about this theme of appreciating love, and I want to take the position that we should appreciate the ones we love. In order to understand this, I want to look at three different aspects. First, I want to look at a basic summary of the song so that we're all on the same page. Secondly, I want to look at the cultural impact of the song and examine why it's so popular. And then lastly, I want to show you what I personally believe to be true about appreciating love. So first, let's take a look at a summary of the song. So the song starts out and it's talking about how he lays awake at night and he watches his wife sleep and he thinks to himself, if I were to wake the next day, would she know that I love her? He goes on to say that if tomorrow never comes, would the people that I know around me know how much I care for them? And he said that he knew people, he had lost loved ones that he knew didn't fully understand how much he had loved them. And so this song is really about how he's expressing to people how if you appreciate the ones you love, you need to take that step and work with them and say, I love you, and take that time. Because he's trying to show us how we need to appreciate the ones we love if tomorrow never comes. So now that you understand what the song's about, let's talk about the cultural impact of this. Now you can look at this in pure numbers. You can understand that it was the first number one single on the country Billboard singles chart. Now that tells us a lot. But I think what we need to examine is why it's so popular. And I think the reason why it's so popular is because it gives us this feeling of appreciation of love. Now I realized something recently as I started learning how to drive, that whenever we step outside the door and say goodbye to the people that we love in our homes, we say, I love you, before we leave. And I never really thought about this as being a weird thing until I thought about what could happen. And I realized that if I walked out the door and got into a car wreck and were to die, the last words that I would tell my family would be, I love you. And that's exactly the way I would want it to be. I'd want the last thing I'd say to them, if tomorrow never came for me, to be, I love you. And to have them understand that I really appreciate everything that they do and that I love them very deeply. So now that you understand the cultural impact of this and you see how we as a culture appreciate this, I want to talk about what I personally believe to be true about appreciating love. Now I want to tell you a story that my parents told me as I was growing up. It's the story of a man who came to these people who were lost, and he taught them how to love more. He showed them what real love was. He went and healed people. He went to the outcasts, and he spoke to them in words of love. Now, this man knew as he was talking to them that he would have to die for them eventually. And one day, his tomorrow didn't come, and he died a horrific death for the people that he cared for. But 3 days later, something amazing happened, and he rose from the dead. And we as Christians believe in this story. It's the story of Jesus Christ. Now, he came to this earth in order to teach us how to love. And he taught so much about what it means to appreciate the people in your life and to love them, and what it means to love others more than yourself and to love your enemies. So what does it all mean? It means that even though you may disagree with what I believe, you may completely disagree with what I believe, but we can agree on this one stance. We can agree that we, as a people, should appreciate the ones that we love. And I think when you look at what we believe to be true about the love of Jesus Christ, then you can see that we stand on the same ground. Now, you can see this in the story of my babysitter. And one day her tomorrow didn't come. And I know that when she died, she knew how much we had loved her. And I also know in this song, that's exactly what Garth Brooks is trying to get across to the people. He's trying to say, use the time that you have to appreciate the ones you love. And I believe that that's the same message that Christianity gives today. To say, go out and love people, and love them as best you can. And I hope that if you want to learn more about what it means to appreciate the ones you love, that you'll take another look into the Bible. Thank you.